wondered if you could say a little bit about where social work education is at, and the kinds of things that are happening in social work education.
Okay, so let's start off by saying that again, I'm not suggesting that anybody who's watching the video should then say, right, well, tomorrow I've got to start reading Capital or Naomi Klein's books or whatever. You might want to, of course, but that's not necessary. But I think you can learn by throwing yourselves into the movements that challenge the various problems that we face. So the movements against racism, or for women's rights, or against attacks on abortion, or if you're in Ireland, the movement for equal right for gay marriage, or if you're in America, the movement around Black Lives Matter. By throwing yourselves into the movement, you learn from the movement, and you're constantly refreshing your background knowledge and theory through engagement. That's very important for us to say. That's the first thing.
So it's not just what happens in your classroom, it's the movements and the groups that you join in wider society
we learn from experience. Of course, reading books and reading theory and engaging and doing some history, that's wonderful, it fleshes that out, but we learn through experience, and that includes learning about the challenges, learning about oppression, learning about inequality through the direct involvement and experience in those movements. So that's the first thing I think is important. The second thing is to take the British example, because there is no doubt that the present government sees social work as a problematic profession and sees social work education as a problematic voice. That's because within social work education we talk about racism, gender oppression, class, inequality. And the government really want to just have social workers who don't talk about those things but are there to process social workers. So they would rather have social work education which is based on technical skills, not on the expansion of knowledge and theory and understanding of the world. My view is that we need more social science, more theory, more knowledge. The more social science background we have, the more rounded understanding of society we have, the better the social worker we will be. But that's a point of contest between those on the right and those of us on the more radical end of social work. But in Britain, there are a number of ways that the government are trying to force this agenda through. And well, actually, I shouldn't say Britain, but certainly in England, there are 3 programmes at the moment, which, if we look at them, they are about trying to marginalise the higher education sector within social work and training. There is the Step Up programme, there is Think Ahead in mental health, and there is Frontline. Frontline and Step Up are both for about training what's called good quality graduates from good universities in the practice-based skills of social work, with very little engagement with universities, with very little engagement with the more social scientific background that informs social work practice. And Think Ahead is the mental health equivalent. And I think these are essentially models to bring in what a friend of mine at the University of Teesside, Terry, calls the officer class within social work. So training a layer of managers, or training a layer of people who have who are disconnected from the problems of social work service users, who see themselves as specialists, first of all, not as generic social work, but specialists in children and families, or specialists in mental health, and who are there really to process people as part of the neoliberal agenda within social work. So this is a neoliberal training programme for a neoliberal social work. And I think we should resist it in every way we can, because good social work training embedded in the social sciences is absolutely vital to the social work project.
Thank you. And to close, thinking ahead to the future, we've talked a lot about where social work is at, we've talked a lot about its history. What does the future hold for social work?
Well, globally, social work is the fastest expanding profession in the world. Partly that's because there are thousands of social workers being trained every day in China, but it's an expanding profession. But I think we're at a moment, you know, in America and China, in Britain, the promotion of social work is of a neoliberal social work. 10, 15 years ago now, Chris Jones, who was one of the authors of the manifesto when we started, and his partner Tony Novak, they wrote that that we're at a point where it's possible to envisage social work existing as a career and a work task, but not social work as a profession. And I think that's quite insightful. I think we're at a point where in some of the advanced economies in the world there is an attempt to turn social work into a processing, functioning task, career, processing the poor, managing their benefits, forcing them back to work. And that really stands in contrast with social work as an ethically driven profession. Therefore, we're at a point where we have to fight for what we think good social work is about. I'm absolutely committed to the notion that good social work is a valued profession and good social work can make a real difference to people's lives. But we have to stand and make the case for that. We have to step forward and make the fight. And for too long, social workers, especially in Britain, but across much of the advanced world, for too long, social workers have said, well, if we just keep quiet, if we go along with governments, the next government will come along and they might be less severe in social work, so we should keep our heads down and say nothing. I think we're beyond that point. We're now at the point where we have to say something. We have to speak truth to power. We have to defend the vitality and importance of social work. And I would end with a question: if we don't speak out now, then when will we speak out? How bad does it have to get? How bad does it have to get for social work? But more importantly, how bad does it have to get for our people? Those who are at the hard end of austerity, of welfare and retrenchment, of inequality. If we say nothing, life gets worse for us, it gets much, much worse for them. We can't stay silent any longer.
Thank you.